Gonna build a mountain from a little hill.
Good current time of day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Best in Slot with some quick Planet Zoo news thanks to a couple of new images and a sneaky comment on their Twitter page. We're going to start off with the big reveal, and that's this image right here. Interestingly, it does appear to be an actual texture file that could be used in the game itself, and it's also our first glimpse and official confirmation that snakes are coming to the game. Not only is today, the 16th of July, World Snake Day, but the Twitter comment accompanying the image was this, and I apologise for the noise effects here. Something has slithered its way into our Planet Zoo exhibits. Can you guess what it is? My snake is not I've not worked on my snake impression, okay? It's not like my old woman, which is impeccable. Anyways, it's a snake. And based on the patterning and coloration, the community seems pretty decided on what this snake is: a Burmese python. Those dark brown splotches that get darker in a small gradient around the edges until they're almost black is a pretty clear tell. And though the colour is a little bit browner and less yellow than most Burmese pythons that I can find, it's worth remembering that this is just a skin pattern and it lacks like lighting and stuff like that. For what it's worth, I did consider it to potentially at least be an African rock python instead. Also, how cute is this rock python? The coloration is much closer, and whilst the texture we're seeing on the left does lack that kind of strip down the spine, I don't know if this texture is actually wide enough to include that either way. It does, however, have a different underbelly than the African rock python, and the Burmese is the better known species, and it's very likely just a slightly browner Burmese python. Hopefully it does get a little dose of yellow, however, in the final design. As an aside, the Burmese python, as with basically every python, is often hunted so its skin can be turned into leather, and it is therefore suffering declining populations, as well as like climate change and destruction of the rainforest and such. It fits in pretty well with Planet Zoo's conservation ethos. Either way, snakes are officially confirmed. We did already think they were on the way, as one of the initial articles in that deluge on the game initially did let slip that they'd be coming, but it's nice to have confirmation from a proper official Frontier source. And the last time they revealed an animal on a World Animal Day, the Galapagos tortoise was revealed on its day, we ended up getting a full image of that animal later on in the week, so hopefully that means we're going to have a python screenshot sometime this week. I think it's safe to assume these pythons are going to be treated like the iguanas we saw in the E3 gameplay reveal, and that they're going to live in vivariums rather than free roam exhibits. These vivariums do look really cool, and they are customizable as we saw, and though the animations were a little bit stilted and actually the same on both iguanas at the same time, there's a long way to go until the game is out. They're not looped animations, which is really cool, unlike Frontier's last zoo game, Zoo Tycoon. These are animals as lifelike as other animals in the game, they just happen to be contained to the glass. Which kind of sounds like a heavy metal album. Contained to the glass! Yeah, apparently Heavy Metal Sounds is up there with my snake voice in being utterly terrible. Anyways, speaking of iguanas, a couple of days ago we got a brand new screenshot of our Lesser Antillean iguana. There's not much to see here that we haven't seen in the E3 reveal already, it's just a better quality screenshot really. I do love the look of the vivariums, and hopefully we're going to get a look at an alternate style one when we see the python, assumedly later on this week. But I am going to take a moment, I apologise, just to complain about something that is, as of right now, literally my only problem with the game. The guests. They've been brought over from Planet Coaster, and whilst that game had a cartoony aesthetic that they definitely suited, they kinda stick out like a sore thumb in Planet Zoo, and nowhere more so than in this screenshot right here. I am utterly okay with a stylized aesthetic, and I wouldn't really expect or even want super realistic guests, but I do think that because Planet Zoo has such a focus on animal realism, that the guests being so cartoony makes them look much worse than they usually would. Although I'm not enamoured with the designs either way. I don't really love the guests in Jurassic World Evolution either, but I think those guests would suit Planet Zoo better than what we've got right here. At the end of the day, they're definitely not the main point of a zoo game, right? It's the animals, but it does seem a little unnecessary. They need to be simple to make large numbers of them feasible, but do they need to be so incredibly blocky and angular? Does the father on the right hand side need to have emo hair for some reason, and this region under his forehead just caved in? I'm not going to get hung up on it, but it is a little distracting in shots like this, ones where you can see the animal really well and the guests really well. I really think it sticks out. Anyway, one last tidbit of news before we go. On a spotlight tweet the Planet Zoo Twitter did for another YouTuber, a commenter asked, when can we expect news about the upcoming beta? Bo, community lead for Frontier and generally wonderful person, responded by saying we'll hear more at Gamescom in the coming weeks. Gamescom is a Germany-based games convention that starts on the 20th of April, so it's just a little over a month away from today until we find out hopefully when the beta will be coming. As a reminder, the Planet Zoo beta is coming sometime this summer and will be available to anyone who pre-orders the deluxe edition of the game. I'm going to bring you more info on that when we get it, but as a cheeky little aside, I will personally be attending Gamescom this year, my very first games conference actually, on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and maybe a little bit on Friday. So I'll hopefully be bringing you some news from the show floor on Planet Zoo. We don't really know what's going on yet, but hopefully I'll be able to tell you some stuff. And maybe I'll meet a few of you if any of you decide to come along. I will have an official video on that sometime in August, so stick around for that. And that's it for news. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the thumbs up looking thing at the bottom and subscribe for more Planet Zoo news and of course obsessive amounts of gameplay when the game actually comes out. We will be back later on today with another video for those of you who get frustrated at just news. But for now, thank you so much for joining me. Cheers much love as always. Bye bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.